welcome to the Esports Research Report presented by myself, Dr. Brian McCauley, and here in Jönköping University in Sweden, and produced by Nicholas Hendelkens, the communications lead for the Esport Research Network. Today I'm talking to a former guest, and she's here again, Eulalia Febrer-Coll from the International University of La Rioja in Spain. Did I get that right?
La Rioja, but yeah, almost right. Thank you very much for having me again.
Yeah, so welcome back to the podcast, and we're going to talk about your book in a moment. But first, please tell the audience a little bit about yourself and your current role in where are you again?
At the Universidad Internacional de La Rioja.
There it is.
Since I was last here, it's been 5 years, and I've been working at the same institution, but now I'm the sub-director of the music department, and I work as the coordinator of our masters in musicology. So having fun and teaching a lot of music.
I just have to ask you about this now because how is AI impacting the music education?
Oh, that's a very interesting question. It's not as much as one could imagine or maybe envision. It's true that it's there, but I don't think it's impacting us as much as any other university. And a few colleagues of mine have just published actually a text, an article or a chapter, I think, where they tried to see what percentage of people could recognize AI produced music from different time periods. And the answer was no one can, not even if it's a PhD in music. And that could be scary, but it's not because we still need music to feed the algorithm. And
Oh,
in popular music, it doesn't do so well. So um, it can be scary, but we can integrate it quite nicely, I think.
so, but look, sure, look, the truth about wine is the experts can't tell the difference between wine as well quite often. Okay, so we're here to talk about your book you published last year, Music and Esports on the Convergence of the Music and Gaming Industry. So, what's the book about and how did it come about?
The book, I have it here for anyone watching this. Um, it came together mostly from the last time I was here in 2021. I kept on researching this topic, and it became clearer that there wasn't a framework and there wasn't any literature at all almost in 2021. So we started delving into it, and I thought it would be nice to have it in one volume, like all my research. So I sort of created a framework that I explored in a few publications, and yeah, ended up transforming it in a book which has 5, 6 main chapters, and then has a prologue and a conclusion, and which covers different aspects of the convergence of music with esports.
I mean, in the blurb, it sort of says the music industry has become a defining feature in the global socialization of esports. What does that mean?
It means that music has become so ingrained into the audiovisual industry in which esports take part that it's a key element. It can be dissociated. There are a lot of experiences that are led by music. A lot of our memories, our emotional baggage, let's say, is addressed through music, and it essentially creates a binding element. It's transmediatic, so it goes from different medium to the other. It creates continuity.
I mean,
So
a lot of
to
people
that,
are actually downloading soundtracks of video game music. That's one
yeah.
of the trends the last few years, right?
Yeah, it is. There is a thesis that's a few years old now that was actually focused on that, on OSTs from an author called Diaz Gasca. And yeah, OSTs are uh, a big element into of this ecosystem, but it goes much further, and it's especially interesting in what regards popular music, actually, which is the main part that I address in the book. Popular music in not necessarily known artists, but all from rap to hip hop, from regional styles. It's been used very intentionally to create traction towards esports from from the developers of the games, from the teams, from the different competitions. Everyone's relying on this musical standpoints to create momentum towards their events.
I mean, look, before we started filming, I was playing with my Sonic thing here because this Tails figure seems to never want to stay still. I have the Sonic music going on my head, do, 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 do. And like it's so there, and it's I can hear it, and if I don't want to look at the Street Fighter guys because I know the music will start. It's so entrenched in these experiences because song two by the Blur was the opening song for one of the FIFAs or the Pro Evos. I think it was FIFA. And, woohoo! And,
Yeah.
it's just it's visceral. As I'm talking, these memories are flashing into me, and it's so hooked into the music of games, right?
It is. It is. One of the questions I've been asked actually is, but that will be music for video games, not just esports, right? And
Yeah.
then, I mean, that's a very valid question. But then when you jump into the social experience that esports, that escapes that isolation, let's say, of specific video games, it transcends that, and music sort of becomes a link between people that are sharing the same experience at the same moment. So I would even argue that it's intensified by esports environments. Obviously, esports per se can't be can't have a non-lead sort of music associated to them. Because of it, I talk a lot about the ecosystem around esports.
Well, Valorant, for example,
Mm.
the music comes on, you're ready to play. I play a lot of that. We had our conference in London, and Worlds were happening, and a few of us got to go for a tour of the O2 arena before the Worlds happened, and they were practicing the main song, and it was like even with practice, you could feel the impact. It's such a centerpiece of the whole transmedia. I think Riot Games in particular have been very good. We talk about Fortnite being the metaverse because they incorporate concerts, and my stepson was playing with Iron Maiden skins at one stage, but in reality, the Riot Games, the music is such a part of the colors, the animations of all their main franchises that seems like they root a lot of identity in. They're like the Pepsi or
Yeah.
music. Pepsi went with Michael Jackson and Britney Spears, the voice of the
Okay.
next generation, and it was part of that, slightly younger demographic positioning of the brand, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And Riot Games has done a fantastic job in that sense. I've been lucky enough to talk to the ex head of music at Riot Games, Tower Dunn, and also with Eric Tan, who was also with Riot Games, and the thought they put into everything. Uh, I mean, it's amazing, and they jokingly always say that Riot is a music company that makes video games, because it's true. They rely so much on that creative part that it almost holds everything together, and they are pioneers in that sense.
They had a head of music. Sorry, that was news to me, and I'm sure anyone. I don't think there's many people who watch this and go, "Oh, yeah, of course, the head of music for Riot Games," and not just the person. It's the head of music, which indicates there's a team below that person.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. They have had a music department since forever, almost. The thing is, they started out with like two people. There were very few people there because they weren't exploring music or the sound that much. I mean, they have composers obviously and everything out of house, uh, but now they have grown so much, the internal team, that they are. I don't know how many people can there be, but they have in-house composers. They have production. They have, of course, head of music. They have everything from events to well, everything you can imagine artistically wise. And I think the head of music now is Maria Egan, I have to say. And yeah, they are keeping on the good work.
And even the transmedia with the thing I talked about in the paper on Netflix, that Arcane.
Yeah,
I mean, that's all about that opening credit scene and the music. It's so impactful.
it is. And Arcane is, I think it's a very good example, the impact that music created for esports or around esports can have, because it incorporates, for example, the first song ever made for a champion in League of Legends, which was Jinx. Jinx was introduced through a music video, which was called Get Jinxed, and it was produced along Fortage Productions, who were also in charge of uh, a part of Arcane. And then they also have these kind of Easter eggs, these small details that we can, as fans of League of Legends, we can easily notice, but which are also super relatable for people who don't know what they are referring to game wise, but they also appeal to their experience in their real world. So it's fantastic. And for example, in the second season, there was a French song that became so popular that made the artists explode in popularity. So it's a very good example of how, yeah, we are giving continuity to things that we had, but we are also expanding the market. We're incorporating artists from all around the world, and we are addressing the needs mm, and the wishes maybe of our players, our listeners.
Well, so music in esports goes beyond just background sound. We've established that, right? So, is there a difference in how it shapes the overall experience for players, not just professional general players, and for the audience, spectators of streamers or competitions?
Yeah, absolutely. The music has to be played for a specific audience at, I would say, in each case, on each occasion, because for players, it can work one way, and that frequently means not having music or having a very specific kind of music that guides the experience. If we are talking League of Legends, for example, the music in Summoner's Rift, it has three parts and it accompanies the game. So the players, if you are playing with music, you have music that plays on early game, mid and late game, and it's different, and it's pushing you to finish the game. Let's say to towards the turrets and towards the nexus. But that maybe wouldn't work as well for listeners outside, for example, in an esports competition. So what they tend to do is create this big expectation with an opening ceremony, for example, which introduces the characters, which places us in a specific mindset, in a space where we can anticipate some of the elements. Of course, in a competition, well, while players are playing, we can't have music or very loud music because they are casters talking, and there are a lot of sounds and events, right? But music can be designed to accompany each experience at each time.
I mean, I'm just thinking now. My stepson and I are playing Hades, and
Mhm.
when he gets, it's a roguelite, and there's a part where you come to Sharon, and it's a, you buy things from his shop, and it's a chill out thing. And when I sort of, he's sitting on playing on his Switch, and I hear this music for Sharon coming, I actually noticed that I went, oh, I suddenly feel relaxed because I've associated that with, like, okay, take a minute. There's no bad guys to kill, and I actually felt it thinking about it now, that when I hear that music, I feel that triggers me to go, oh, a little relaxing moment for him is actually a relaxing moment for me, because it's,
Yeah.
you go through it all the time, right? Every time I've gone through that part of the game, it's like, oh, breathe. What can you afford? No one's trying to kill you this second. It's yeah, because I show my marketing students sometimes Big Bang Theory at the laughter track, where I
Mhm.
show that these are really just a bunch of spiteful people who really can't hold a conversation, and I've actually used the wrong music on horror scenes or stuff to show how the music guides them. And it's media is media, and it's the audiences and the actors' experiences. So, what's driving the relationship here? Is it the game industry or is it the music industry? And who do you think is actually benefiting?
That's an interesting question in the sense that the answer changes with time. A decade ago, I would have said the gaming industry has or had more to win from the music industry for sure. The first collaborations that happened were driven or where, yeah, the music industry was at the front, was who decided. Who decided to put Imagine Dragons on a stage in 2000, which was it, 14? I think, yeah, it was right, but the music industry was who had the power to decide whether to participate or not. What happens now, more than 10 years later, the gaming industry as a whole and the esports industry specifically has grown so much and has proved to be so impactful at a multimedia level that sometimes the leverage has changed, and there are musicians who are very uh, I won't say desperately, but they are willing to get past some maybe big payments and everything just to get into a game or just to be featured in. That happens, for example, with FIFA,
Yeah.
the soundtrack.
Or FC now.
Yeah,
FC.
FC, FC.
I can't stop saying FIFA either, but it's FC. Yeah.
Well, we know which one we are talking about.
I was playing the first version like 30 years ago, so yeah, you know, I can't. I'm too old to change now.
Yeah, it's too it's difficult to change um that duet. But anyway, there are very big names that are willing to participate in the soundtrack, but maybe they aren't a good fit. So now the gaming industry has the power to say, not you, Sting, for example, which is huge.
Of
And
course, Aerosmith had their biggest album sales based on Guitar Hero, right?
yeah. I mean, it's clear in that sense. Just think, Linkin Park, Metallica, in with Fortnite. These are very big names, which one would never had imagined that they would uh, be featured in such popular games. Especially when you think in musicology, let's say, or in popular music studies, when you think of all the transgression and the subversion that this kind of artists have embodied and have represented, and then they are a few years later, you find them in a game which is mainstream, and it's such a collision. It's such a weird place to be.
I have an 8-year-old boy saying you have to buy that Metallica skin, and I'm going, do you even know who Metallica are, here, kid?
That
You know,
happened with Nirvana shirts a few years ago too.
oh, yeah, I know. Do you even know who Nirvana is? They just sell them and people don't listen to. Okay, I'm gonna ask you one more question here. It's you know, you're off in sunny parts of the world. It's a bit sunny here, thankfully now. But does your framework address regional differences in, you know, music and esports, you know, to global versus local identities? Because some music mightn't work for a global game, and you know, how does that work?
Yeah, I tried to address that as much as I could. Of course, I had a limitation that was linguistic, especially regarding the Asian market. It was hard to access. I was able to somehow read into the American, North American, South American scene more easily because it's English, it's Spanish, French, maybe that I can access. But it's very difficult for me to access Chinese, Korean, Japanese, Malaysian, but I was somehow able to get in there through games such as Free Fire. I was able to have a conversation with some people in that works in that zone, let's say in that area, and through that I discovered that there are so many regional events that are also musically represented. For example, Free Fire and other mobile games, some of them have music and events for Ramadan, for example. Or maybe they have a Malaysian singer which is super popular in Malaysia, being featured in a world competition that's only featured in that zone, in that area of the world, because we don't know those people. So sometimes we think esports, yeah, Marshmello, Travis Scott, Linkin Park, whoever, but there is such a big scene regionally speaking with regional artists happening. That's awesome, and I think that's better done, or the ones who do that best are Free Fire. Um, if you go into characters that have been featured. For example, you see Justin Bieber, but you can also see Alok. You can see which is a DJ from I think Brazil. They have artists from all over the world, and there I have tried to address that. through these competitions mostly.
I mean, it sounds like you're going away from your area and more towards my area of marketing there. Like smart marketing in games will tap into local musical trends and appeals and a distinct target audience. All I
Absolutely.
know is that when I lived in Vietnam for 5 years, every time I heard Westlife playing in a cafe, which is an Irish boy band, I was like going, "Oh my god, this is the only band I notice here. They seem to love Westlife in Vietnam. I think they're all dead or something." So I do know the musical differences. So, Eulalia, thank you so much for doing the podcast. It's great to see you
Mhm.
again. Congratulations on the two kids you've
Thank
had
you.
since I first did a podcast with you. So for the audience anyone interested, links to Eulalia's profile and her book are below this podcast. So thank you very much and have a nice
Thank
weekend.
thank you so much for having me.